What's going on, YouTube? This is Juan. So as you see, I have a new radio installed in the truck. So we're going to go through the procedures of installing this radio in the truck and all the ins and outs of it, how it works, what's my opinion of it, my pros and cons. And so sit back, relax, get ready for another episode of Truck You. All right, stay tuned. Peace. So today's the day I'm going to upgrade my stereo to a 14-inch touchscreen Android tablet style radio. The types of radio you see in Tesla cars and things like that. So I'm going to get rid of this 8-inch screen and it's going to be a 14-inch screen. So stay tuned for installation updates. I'm not going to go through this step by step. There's too many videos online now that go through all the detail. It's the instructions on how to pull this apart and do all of that. So I'm just going to show you quick clips here and there and a couple pictures as I go, so you'll see how it's looking. All right, so first thing we had to do was take off the speaker at the top of the dash. Once you take off the speaker and unscrew a couple little bolts here, then I can just grab a hold of this, pull forward, and this whole display will come out. And then I'll unattach the screen and some knobs from this panel, and then I'll be able to reattach those electrical wires and components to the new screen, which I'll show you in a second. Okay, so I have everything pulled off. This was the front of the radio. This is the panel that surrounded the radio. The radio has been taken out of the back there. So now the next thing to do is to transfer this control board to the back of the new radio. And that's how we keep all the original functions of the truck, because we're not splicing any wires, we're not cutting any wires. We're just taking the control board, moving it to the back of this radio. It fits exactly the same as the original Ford assembly. And we just plug it in. Well, I'm sorry, we screw it into the back, and then we take the cables that were there and then plug it back into the exact same control board. So we have the exact same functions of the original radio, plus the added benefit of an Android tablet 14-inch screen. So that's what's inside this box here. So when you open up this box, I'm gonna set this down real carefully. Open up the box. Obviously you have the screen and you have all the cables and antennas and wiring harness in the back of this that will retrofit into that. And then we just push the radio back into the front of the dash and fire it up, and we should be ready to go. It's a lot of wires, it's a lot of screws, but it's not difficult. It's tedious and time consuming, but not difficult. You don't have to have a degree in engineering or electrical to be able to do this. You just need to be able to take your time, be very detailed, don't lose anything, don't break anything, being frustrated trying to pull off the trim because it will fight you a little bit, but they're just put in there with clips. There's nothing really that you have to really disassemble a lot of, but it can be frustrating because it feels like you're breaking it because you have to actually grab it and pull or use the little pry tools like we got right there to get into the seams and the gaps and pull this stuff off. But it will come off, so you just have to be patient. All right, so now I'm gonna pause this video and I'm gonna take off the control board and transfer it to the other side. Stay tuned. All right, so I have removed the screws from the motherboard, and now I'm going to take this and place it there. As you can see, it matches up exactly the same. That's why I say it's very detailed and time consuming. It's just not hard. There is no splicing or soldering or anything like that that you're going to be doing. You just have to keep track of your screws. Take your time. Don't break anything because this is sensitive equipment. If you break something here or pull one of these wires out, then you're done. This is a couple hundred, maybe $1,000 to replace this board. So take your time and don't have anything else to do. Don't have a time crunch that you have to be someplace. This is something that you're going to do when you have nothing else to do for the rest of the day. At least give yourself 3 to 4 hours, I would say. Once you have done it more than once, you probably can do it in about an hour, hour and a half. That's what they say on the other video sites. But because this is your first time, I have to watch the video and do it, pause the video, come back to it, rewind the video because he was talking too fast, come back to it. This is going to take a few hours. But again, it's not hard to do. Just have to be patient and slow, steady hand. Oh, so I forgot to say, we take the motherboard out, and underneath the motherboard you find your controls, your dials, the temperature, the volume, you know, the seat, heated seats, the radio station numbers. That's underneath the motherboard. That has to be transferred over here. So that's the next step before we put the motherboard back on. So we got to do this first. We put it into the new radio housing. Okay guys, forgive me, we had some technical difficulties. There was some video of the installation of the circuit board that was not being recorded, so I'm not going to be able to show that, and a few other clips that I thought the camera was recording and it was not. So bear with me and we'll go ahead and get through this best as possible. All right, so the motherboard has been installed. The cover has been placed on top of that. The next thing to do now is, this is the old screen. I need this module that's on the back of the screen. That is my sync system, my Sync 3 system. That will plug into the back here, which is the other side of the new screen. So again, as I said earlier, because we're using original truck parts and computer system to plug into the back of this screen, that's how we have the exact same controls that we had on the original setup. The steering wheel controls work, the heat work, the seats controls work, the heated seats work. If you had massage seats, the massage seats would work. The heated steering wheel would work because it's actually the same exact computer module, just mounted to the back of a new screen, LCD screen. All right, so now that's what I'm about to do now. Stay tuned. Okay, so we had to put in the clips back on the radio housing that snaps into the dash. These are the original clips. Again, everything we're using is original parts except for the screen and some new antennas. But all the other parts are original to the truck. That's why everything fits plug and play. Okay, so we're going to pause on the radio right now and change our focus to some wiring, and that has to be ran up here in under the dash. So we have some antennas. We have 4G antennas and a GPS antenna and another little wiring harness that has to be plugged into the back of the radio and connected to some of these other wiring connectors inside the dash. So the GPS antenna is because, obviously, like I said, the radio is basically a 4G Android tablet. So anything that you can do on your tablet, be it iPad, Android, whatever the case may be, I can do on my radio. I can go onto Spotify, I can go onto Google Maps, I can go onto Waze, I can go on the internet, I can do all of that on this radio. So that's what this GPS antenna is for. That's for the map services. And then also I have the 4G antennas. That's for the internet and data and all that kind of stuff. So with that being said, I still have the Ford Sync system, the original Ford radio, which has maps built into it and the ability to have Sirius satellite radio and all of that. I don't have the subscription for the satellite radio in the truck. I have it on my phone, and I was just Bluetoothing my phone to the radio and doing it that way. But now the tablet or the radio will be able to do it on its own. So it's gonna be like two systems in one. I hit a button, I go to the original radio. I hit another button, I go to the tablet, and I can do both things on either side. I'll probably end up just using the tablet side and make it easy on myself, so that way I don't have to keep going back and forth, but the option is there. So that's why I have to install these cables and wires and antennas. All right, hold tight. All right, so I have one of my 4G antennas underneath the glove box there, out of the way. I'll put the glove box back together. I really wanted it to go on the side here so it could have clear sight to the window and outside, get a better signal so it won't be blocked by any metal or other electronics that may cause interference. But there's no way for me to get it here without having to pull this whole dash off or drill a hole and all that, so I'm not going to do that. So I'm just going to put it under there, and that wire runs across and back up into here, which will then plug into the back of the radio. And then there's a second one that I have to run that way past the steering wheel and underneath. So they give you two. So one's on the right and one's going to be on the left. I'm about to do the left side now.
6.5 hours later.
Okay, everybody, so it's been a day. So I finally have it installed. What nobody said, and I've watched at least 10 different videos, nobody said in any of those videos was to take the CD player out, because the CD player is down the bottom, the radio is at the top. They only take it, you take the radio out and unplug all the cables, and oh, look at that. Look at that fox. Sorry, but that's crazy. Okay. So now, they didn't say, they just said take the radio out and unplug it and plug it back in. So when I got ready to put the radio in and snap everything back into place, it wobbled. It was like something was hitting it. So I'm thinking it's cables behind it that's in the way. No. Something said take the CD player out. I take the CD player out, it snapped.
will never do that again.
All right, everybody. So there's an update to my last statement. You do not take the CD player out of the dash. What the problem was, there are so many cables and wires, and I added a harness for the new radio to attach to the old radio harness, that there were things that needed to be pushed back further into the dash. And that was what was stopping me from getting the new screen to plug in correctly. So once I had it plugged in, I realized I didn't have any sound on the radio. So the CD player has dual function. It's a CD player, and it also provides the actual volume and sound for the radio. So I had to take it apart, put the CD player back in, plug the cables back in, and then tuck the wires correctly, and then plug the radio in, and everything is working fine now. Thanks. All right, everybody. So we got it all worked out, put in, logged in, powered up. We doing all right. Still got one little thing to do up there with the GPS and the speaker, but everything is working good. Radio.
In 600 feet, turn left onto Oglethorpe Street Northwest.
I got Google Maps working. I got Waze working. I have to log into all my other apps like Spotify, Netflix, YouTube TV, all those things.
Take the next left onto Oglethorpe Street Northwest.
We doing good. I'm loving it.
2,000 years later.
As you can see, we have the screen in, and so we're going to talk about that in a minute. But while I was installing the screen and taking things apart, I realized that the center speaker here up on the top of the dash was very old. Obviously, this is a 2016, and it's a very cheap speaker. I don't have the Sony system. I don't have the upgraded sound system that Ford offers. There's two different versions. There's a Sony, and I believe there's I forget the other name, but either way, this is the basic system. So I have a cheap paper 3.5-inch speaker up here in the center channel. So I'm going to upgrade that to a new speaker. This one has a built-in tweeter. So, and it has a bigger magnet. It's a better speaker all around. So should give me some crisper, cleaner sound coming out of this stock radio as much as it possibly can without having an amp and all those good things. So I'm about to install that, and then I'm going to button up everything else, and then we'll talk about the radio itself and how I feel about it. I've had it now for a little over a week, and I'll give you my impressions. Stay tuned. All right, so the speaker's been installed. I didn't film the installation of that. We pulled out the old speaker. You take a pair of wire cutters, you snip off the harness plug, leave yourself about 1.5 to 2 inches of wire. Then you get the new speaker wire that came in the box, and then you just attach the positive to the positive, the negative to the negative, and splice in the harness on the other end of the wire, and then plug it right back into the radio's plug. So this is, when I say super simple, I mean this is like 10-15 minute job. There's no real difficulty in that. So you just plug it in, and now that's installed, and you bolt it back down again. So last thing to do with that is to put the speaker grill back on, and that's basically just snap it into place, and boom, we're done. All right, so now we're going to talk about the radio, and we'll get to that in another second. Let me clean up my mess and wipe everything down, and then we'll be good to go. Peace. All right, so now we are all done, and we're going to go over the radio and my thoughts about it. So as you can see, everything fits very well. I'm very impressed with the quality of this radio, the panel, the screen, the buttons, the fitment, the materials. It matches very well inside the truck. As you can tell, I have the 14.5-inch screen, so my screen sits up a little, about 1.5 inches over my dash. They make a 12-inch screen which would have fit exactly level with the vents there, but for a couple extra dollars I just went on and got the 14.5 screen. You know, they also make a 15.5 screen which would have sat up to here, and I think that was a little outrageous. That screen is more like the screen that's in the new Expedition. It has a little knob here on the screen actually that controls the volume and the interface and everything, but that was overkill. I didn't need that. I'm very happy with this screen. So what do we have here? We have an Android 13 radio head unit, which has everything that you can do on a regular tablet. I have internet, as you see, I have 4G, I have a SIM card in there. I have a T-Mobile SIM card in there. I had an AT&T SIM card that I had already inside of another tablet, and I tried to use that. The radio recognized it, but it would not allow me to connect online. So I heard from a couple people that they didn't think the AT&T card was compatible, so I went to T-Mobile. They let me try one out in the store from one of their tablets they had on display, and I went out to the car, plugged it in, and it fired right on up. So I went back inside and then signed up on a service for them. I actually got a prepaid service. I can get postpaid later on if I decide I want to, but right now I'm just trying this out, so I don't want to be locked into no contract or anything like that. So I just got the prepaid card, and if one day I decide I don't want it, then I don't have to pay for it and use it. I also have Wi-Fi in the car. It's not turned on right now, but I can use the Wi-Fi. But I also find that using the Wi-Fi, because I still retain all of the original Ford interface, the Ford Sync 3 that I have, and but when I use the Wi-Fi, when I switch back and forth from the Ford screen to the tablet screen, and I want to get on YouTube or Facebook or you know, anything like that online, my Spotify, those type of things, it's a difficult switch. The radio wants to use the internet or the Wi-Fi to run those apps, but then when I switch back over to the Ford Sync system, for some reason I have to log off of the internet to be able to hear sound to come from that. So what everyone else online was stating was just to get the 4G card, so the radio has its own internet and it doesn't fight against itself when you switch back and forth. So I did that, but just in case in a pinch, I can always move over to my Wi-Fi from the truck if necessary. So anyway, I like this because this head unit, like I said, retains everything from the Ford truck. There was no rewiring, splicing the wiring. The only thing I had to do was move the control panel from the old radio and apply it to the back of this radio, and they provide you with all the tools and the replacement screws and things of that nature to be able to do that. And so while I'm doing that, since I'm using the actual computer from Ford, all my steering wheel controls still work. You know, the volume still works. You know, you can the media button still works, so I can change through all my stations and things of that nature. And I'm doing that from here, as you can see. So you don't lose anything from Ford. You only add all of the benefits of having an Android tablet in the car. And so I'm really impressed with that. And it's very quick. As you can see, I touch the app and there it goes. Hit the home button again. There it goes. It's not laggy. It's not slow. It doesn't stutter. It works perfect. And I'm very happy with it. So again, we have all the things that you can do on a regular tablet. I have YouTube TV, so I can go in here and watch my TV shows, whatever it is that I want to watch, and keep up with the game while the game is going on, the Super Bowl, the basketball game, the baseball game, the soccer game, wherever it is. If I'm on the road, I can keep up with all of that. I can watch the news. I have my Spotify, I have all those things that I need. I have my Waze. I have my Waze map there. And you see, you touch it, it comes right on up. I have my Google Maps. I have that. I have my Netflix and all that good stuff. And see how fast that was? It wasn't no lag, it wasn't anything. Everything works as promised. So very happy with it. Now, there is some learning curve with this. So obviously it's not just the Ford Sync system you have to deal with. There is some back and forth. You have to move from the Sync system back to the Android tablet system, and there's a lot of other apps that you have to contend with. So there's going to be a little learning curve. It's going to take some time to get that muscle memory to be able to just know that you could just reach over and press this button without having to scan the screen. And you get to set the screen up just like a tablet. You can hold on your apps and you can move things around. You can do whatever you want to do with it and set it up to where you know where things are at without even having to look at the screen. So you should be very easy to work this after a few times of trying. What I don't like about it is there are two radio systems in this car, meaning we're still using all the Ford speakers, the regular speakers. But when I'm on the Android side, this system has its own EQ system and its own amp. When I go back over to the regular Ford side, I'm actually using the amp that's built into the car. So the volume is different. The quality of sound is a little different. The highs are different. The lows are different because it's actually using a different programming of how the sound is to come out of the radio. So you have your radio station set, you have your bass and your treble set on the Sync system the way you like it, and then you move over to the Spotify or the Pandora or whatever it is that you're using for your music, and then it doesn't sound exactly the same. You have to go in and adjust the EQ for that side of the radio. But once you get it set and saved, then you can kind of match it up to where they are close or very similar to each other, so it won't be a drastic change in sound when you go back and forth. But initially it will be. The Ford system may be a little lower, the bass may be a little deeper, and then you move over to the Android side and hit your Spotify, and the highs are way out there and the mid-range is way out there and the bass is very low. So you have to go in and adjust the EQ system and get it as close to possible, so when you switch back and forth you won't get that shock of a different sound. So that's one thing. Other than that, the other thing I don't really care for, and there's really nothing that you can really do about this, is the glare of the screen. This is in fact an Android tablet, so like any other tablet, iPads, Surfaces, anything, you take them outside, you get a glare from the sun and the light, and it's hard to see things outside when you're looking at tablets. You kind of have the same scenario here. They do make screen protectors, that anti-glare screen protectors. I'm going to look into that. You kind of have to make sure that you find one that's specific to the size of your screen, because like I said, they make different sizes. They have a 12-inch, a 13-inch, the 14.5, the 15.5. Some screens aren't exactly rectangle shaped. Some screens have extra things on the side. It might dip in. Mine is kind of has a curved edge. Some of them are square. right angles and things like that, so you have to make sure you get the proper one. Just Google that, and you should be fine to get that screen protector to help with the glare. I still have my factory screen protector on there. That's just a piece of plastic that's not coming off until I get the anti-glare screen protector, because you're going to be interacting with this screen all the time, because again, it's a tablet, so you're going to get fingerprints, you're going to touch it, and you don't want to push too hard, you don't want to have sharp nails, you don't want to scratch it, those kind of things. So you have to be a little careful with it from time to time, but all in all, I think you'll be happy. It's been cold here, and we had about 6 or 7 inches of snow, below 30-degree temperatures, and I was curious as how this was going to react to the temperature, and worked fine. Get in the car, start it up, starts right up, no real lag, it doesn't move slow, things of that nature. So I'm gonna cut the car off completely, open the door, and then we're going to start the car up, and I'm going to show you how fast this comes up. Now actually I had the volume down on the radio, but as soon as I turn the car on, the radio, actually you can hear the sound sometimes, and as I'm filming, obviously it's not going to work for me. So we're going to try this one more time. We're going to cut it off, close the car, then we're going to start it up again. And it's going to troll me today. But trust me, normally when I get in, I start the car up, the radio comes on immediately, but I had some changes to the settings a few minutes ago before I started filming, and I believe the radio just needs to update itself and get itself back together. But there you go. So now it's up and running. So everything is there. So we're going to try it one more time. I'm going to cut it off. Like I said, this is a computer, it's a tablet, so every now and again you have to reboot the system and clear the cache and things of that nature, just like you would do with any other tablet or computer. So there we go. So it's actually taking a second. So like I said, I did some updates to the firmware, so I believe that since I'm recording this, it's actually acting slow, but it does not act this slow on a normal basis. So just trust me on that. You'll be fine. But yes, so it's up and running, and like I said, you can go into your apps, but you see how quickly everything comes up as you touch the apps. Everything's fine. So again, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give this a 8.5. Downsides, again, the glare on the screen, the difference in sound levels between the Ford Sync system radio and the Android system radio, and other than that, I don't really have any other problems. I'm not a huge fan of the buttons for the hazards and the hill descent and the auto start off and on buttons being on the top. You're going to have to memorize where they are, because in the old system they were facing forward, so you could see those, but because of the limitations, I guess, with the screen being so large, there was no place for the buttons to go to face forward, so they just did what they could do and put them on top. So you just have to remember where they are and what placement they're in, and but that's a small thing. Like I said, the gripes that I have are pretty small, but enough for me not to give it a complete 10. I'm gonna give this an 8.5, and I believe 8.5 out of 10 is still fantastic. So that's it. I'm happy, and I think you will be too. This is, again, 14.5-inch Android 13 tablet radio for the Ford F-150. You can look these things up and find the actual screen for your make and model of your car, your year, because they have to fit in your dash properly. So they make multiple radios to fit multiple vehicles. And mine is called Autotech I swear I purchased it from. It's an Autotech head unit. There's a couple other brands out there. I did a lot of research before I purchased this one. I bought it from a website called AliExpress, but you can also go to Autotech directly and get them. There's a lot of other, like I said, places that sell these type of radios. Prices may vary. I'm very happy with what I purchased. You also want to make sure that you get an aftermarket warranty on it also, in case something goes wrong. You would be able to get replaced and reimbursed for it, things of that nature, because it's a little expensive, and you know, you want to protect your investment. So that's that. I don't think I have anything else to say about it right now, so I'm going to end this video, and I'm just going to say it's a great system. I'm very happy and pleased with it, and I'm pretty sure that you will be too. So enjoy, have fun, and we'll talk later. This is another episode of Truck You, and you guys be safe out there.